Hey everyone, this is Katie with KindredSoulArt, and today's project, we're going to be doing this fun little chameleon, and has the little pun at the bottom, says, "You're one in a chameleon." I love pickup lines and I love puns, and so I actually gave this one to my husband last year, and it just makes us both laugh. I mean, it makes him roll his eyes more, but for me, it makes me laugh. So yes, this is what we're going to be doing today, and I'm actually going to be doing it as a card. Valentine's Day is coming up, and so it's a fun project to do for Valentine's Day, and because the chameleon is a little bit sillier, it's also very forgiving with whatever colors you want to use and designs and stuff. So I'm really excited for this project, and let me show you what you will need. So you will need water if you're using watercolor, that is. You will need paper. And today I'm just actually going to be using cheaper materials just to show you that, you don't always need fancy stuff to make something cute and fun. So this is just a really cheap pad from Walmart, I think. This is a youth series. This is Strathmore watercolor paper. If you are doing watercolor, I suggest either watercolor paper or mixed media paper. In order to hold the amount of water that you use. If you're using acrylic or markers or whatever, of course you can use other kinds of paper. For the paint today, I'm actually really excited to tell you about this. So this is an old watercolor set that belonged to my grandma that I inherited, and it doesn't have any manufacturer information on it. I have no idea what it is, but we're gonna use it today just for fun. And I'm pretty sure it's a cheap set. Like I said, I have no idea what it is, but whatever watercolors you have, that's gonna be just fine. Brushes, just use what you have. I suggest a little bit bigger brush as well as some smaller brushes for details if you so choose. And let's see, a rag to wipe off extra water or paint. I already said paper. I've folded one of the pieces of paper in half in order to get the card size. And however big your card size is, that will inform how big you want your outline to be. Now I've provided an outline free for you. It's in the description in the link. And the one that I provided is for a regular sheet of paper. And because I'm making it into a card, you'll want to shrink it a little bit, and you just do that in the printer settings, the size, and this one is at 90%. You can go, pretty small depending on how big your card is. This one's at 50%. So just adjust your outline size to your card size if you're making a card with me. And let's see, two more things. So white gel pen to do some of the little designs on there. You can also use bleed proof white paint. And marker. This is a waterproof marker, Pigma MB, but use what you have. If you're going to use a Sharpie, if you're doing a little bit smaller one, like for a card, I suggest a smaller Sharpie rather than the bigger one because the lines can get a little bit thick for the outline. Okay, that's it. Let's get going. So I'm pulling out my light box, and you don't necessarily need a light box to do the outline. It makes it a little bit easier, but you can just as easily use a glass baking dish with your cell phone light underneath it, or you can tape it up against a window, or even put it up on a laptop if you need, with the screen brightness turned up. That one, just be careful not to push too hard when you're outlining so you don't damage the laptop. Okay, so I'm gonna turn my light box on here. Go. And set my card up. And because I'm doing this as a card, I'm actually not gonna do the writing on the outside. I'm gonna put that on the inside of the card. And I'm just gonna get my marker out and start outlining. And you'll notice that some of the lines are thicker and thinner. And it's up to you how thick you want to make them. But one of the tricks that you can do when deciding where to make things a little bit thicker is adjoining areas that are close together. So for example, you can see where this leg meets the tail. There's thicker lines here, and that's one way that you can know where to put thicker lines is at the joints. You can smooth those out a little bit. Okay, back to outlining. Rest of the branch. Okay, and I think I got everything that I need to. Take a look at it. This away. Oh, he's so cute. His nostrils, maybe a little bit big on this side, so I'm gonna color that in. And adjust any other little things you need to. I'm gonna smooth out this branch line a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. So now I'm gonna start adding color. And let's actually start with the branch. Oh, I got a little carried away with that. That's fine. So let's start with the branch, just to warm up the painting fingers. And as you're painting the branch, you can be thinking about what colors you want to use for your chameleon. So I'm gonna grab a little bit lighter brown. This is kind of a tan. I'm gonna do that on the top part of the branch. Okay, and then I'm going to grab brown and put it towards the bottom of the branch. Then I'm going to clean my brush. Water over so you can see. So I'm just cleaning my brush off and wiping off the excess on my towel. And then with my clean, damp brush, just gonna run it through between the two colors that I put down so that they blend. Good enough. Okay, now we're going on to the chameleon himself. So let's see, I'm going to start with a lighter color. So I'm going to start with this yellow color that I have. I think it's a little bit greenish just because of other paint that has been mixed in, but that's okay. I'm just going to paint a big area. Maybe some on his face. Then let's do some green. Of course, you can use whatever colors you'd like. Some green. do some darker green here. Then, let's see. Let's do some blue. Blue is my favorite color. I have, so in the painting palettes that I have so much blue in comparison to all the other colors that I have. It's kind of funny. So you see how this ended up kind of a hard line. So again, I'm just wiping off my brush and then smoothing that out. Another trick that you can use is grab some of the paint you want it to blend into, so some of that lighter green we'll say, and use that to blend it in. Do a little bit more of that yellow. And then let's dip into orange. Orange by his eye. So we are going to go back with some red for his cheeks for a little blush spot. So in using whatever colors you want, I suggest not using red underneath his cheek if you want to do the blush spot so that it'll show up a little bit better. I'm gonna go with some red. Maybe a little red over here. I'm just alternating between a lot of colors, and I'm trying to keep the colors close to other colors that they blend well with. So for example, I'm trying not to put orange on top of green, and trying to not put, let's see, like I'll pull purple next. I'll also try and not put that where the orange is. So that way it'll come out less muddy. So I do have red here, but the red is right next to the blue. And so since red and blue can be mixed pretty easily together, then I'm not too worried about having it there. And darken up some of these areas. Some more orange. And if you don't end up liking the colors that you have, that's okay, because on the next step, after it dries, you're gonna go back and add some more on top, some more designs and stuff, and so it'll be fine. Let's see, maybe some purple. Add some purple down here. Now, this is a harder edge, but I actually kind of like how that edge came out, so I'm going to leave that. Let's see, maybe some pink. And I'm kind of going into risky business because I'm right up against green, but that's okay. I will take that chance. My orange dried a little bit lighter, so I'm just going to go back in with a little bit more paint for my orange. Okay, so now I'm going to let this dry. Let me grab my hair dryer. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you want to go a little faster, you can also grab a hair dryer for your supplies. And I will mute this real quick so that it's not too loud for you. Move my papers out of the way. I always end up like blowing everything off my desk whenever I blow dry. I like every time. So I'm glad I caught it this time. Okay, so I'm gonna mute myself real quick, gonna dry this, and then we're gonna come back in with the second layer and add more designs on top. Okay, that should be good enough for now. So I'm gonna grab my smaller brush because in this stage, we're gonna add some designs over the top. And as I'm looking at it, I noticed that this part dried a little bit light. This one was a little bit light. And on the nose, got a little weird. So I'm gonna just cover up those spots, add a little bit more paint. I'm gonna add some maybe reddish pink to the spots. Ooh, a little too much water. Just gonna grab a tissue and blot that off. There we go. And I'm actually gonna make this a little more blue. And some more blue and purple here. Now your colors are likely to be different. That's just the nature of, having different paints and choosing whatever colors you want, as it'll be a little bit different. So your painting's you're not gonna be putting paint in the same kind of places that I am. But when you look at your painting, you wanna watch where your eyes dart to and see if there's something there that maybe needs adjusting or some extra paint. Okay, so now in this layer, it's okay if there's a little bit of a little more overlap in the colors that you want versus the colors that in the colors that don't usually blend together very well. So for example, I'm going to be taking my purple, and I'm okay if I overlap this orange, even though usually I would try and avoid putting orange and purple, right next to each other, or purple on wet orange. If it's dry, you have a little bit more opportunity to paint over it, and it's still going to show up a little bit more brown, but for this project, that little bit of brown is going to be okay. Okay, so I'm going to grab some of my purple. It's helpful to have the darker color on top so that you can see it on top of the lighter colors that are underneath. So I'm just going to wiggle my brush and pull it down to create a little design. And when you're doing the designs, you want to follow the curve of the body to give it a little bit more roundness. So for example, this one would come this way, whereas on the jaw, the design would come up, if that makes sense. Using more purple. And let's see, I'm going to change to kind of a pinkish red as I go down the tail. And you're just squiggling your brush, making the squiggles smaller as you go down the tail. And I think I'm going to add some of these red squiggles here. Something that can also help your squiggles is to start a little bit thicker towards the back and then go thinner as you get more towards the middle. And then I think I'll do maybe an orange squiggles from the bottom. Some orange squiggles over here. Let's do there. Okay. I think that's good. Okay, now I'm just going to make some other little designs and patterns and lines. So I'm gonna grab, let's do blue. Okay, and I'm just gonna make dashed lines. Kind of following the curve of whatever part you're on. And I think it's looking pretty cute. I'm going to color his eye in a little bit because the white is too stark. So I'm going to use just a little bit of my orange on this side. But you don't want to make it too dark because then his eye will sink back and you want his eye to be pretty prominent. So just a little bit of paint, maybe the lighter colors, and do a little bit of green on this side. Some blue. Okay, and we will go back with the white to brighten this, give it some shine to it. So his little eyeball and the reflection that goes over it. And let's do his little cheek. Little blush spot. It's still a little bit light, so I'm going to go in with a little bit darker red so I can amp that contrast up. Oh, and that's a really nice red. So since I like that red, I'm actually gonna pull in some of that in my design. So I'm gonna go back to that red. Okay, and I think it'll look really good on this orange. here. Yeah, that kind of looks like lipstick, so I'm gonna try and take that off a little bit. So I'm just getting my wet brush and pulling that since I didn't like the look of that. And that one's okay. Okay. I think that'll be just about good. You know, I'm gonna add some little spots. Spots are cute. Let's do some blue spots. Oh yeah, that's so cute. Maybe some green spots. He's just looking so cute. And this part seems a little bit muddy to me, so I'm just gonna make a deeper line there. Let's see, maybe do blue. And again, you're gonna scan your painting and look for any spots that your eyes are kind of pulled to see if there's maybe a distraction there, or you might need something there. Okay. Now while that's drying, let's come over to our little leaves. This will be easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I'm going to take the lighter green and just fill the leaf. Oh, a little too much water. Fill the leaf. And then take my darker green. Also, a way to get green a little bit darker is to add a little bit of blue, which I think is kind of fun. Usually, I mean, you think that you would add, you know, black or something like that, but usually a dark blue does a much better job at darkening green. I'm gonna add just a little bit of the darker to the ends, either the far end, the close end, or both ends, but you want the center part of the leaf to be a little bit lighter. And it looks like my brown dried a little bit light, so I'm going to go back and darken up this darker brown. And on the underside of this branch. And this top part is maybe too light, so when I look at the painting, it pulls your eye over here. So I'm also going to pull in a little bit brown to hide that, or just to make it less bright. Okay, now let's go to your gel pen. Okay, I think it is mostly dry. Okay, so I'm gonna add the little white spot for his eye. A little bit of shine there. And I'm just going through adding lines and dots. A trick that you can use with dots is kind of like how these lines were thicker at the outside and then went thinner. You can see I do the same thing with dots. So like start a little bit bigger and then go thinner, and you can make them in a straight line if you want. So I'll show you what that looks like. So you can do a straight line like that. Do another one like that. Or you can do the offset where it's not perfectly straight up. And the white I'm not as worried about in going over the black part. So for example, down here at the tail where it's a little bit thicker, I might even take my white and go on just the outline. And these dots are a really great way to dress up pretty much any painting that you have. So just kind of crazy and fun. I'm also going to highlight that little cheek area to bring that out. And I'm also adding a longer highlight along his tail. This part is almost done. Okay. Oh, and a little bit of highlight on the branch. And maybe on his little fingers. Okay, I think that will just about do it. And I think for this outside part, I'm also going to add some splooshes, some paint across, some paint flicks. So to do that, you can use a regular brush, but I'll show you a cool trick for the paint spots that makes it a lot easier. And that's one of these fan brushes. And these just make it so much easier. So let's go for kind of that green. And why not mix in a little bit of the other kind? A little water and sploosh. Let's go with some purple. I'll show you what the other brush looks like. Let's do some blue. And some red. Yeah, I like that real bright red that I had earlier. You can also, after you've added the splooshes, add a little bit of water into those spots to smush them out a little bit more. Looks like his eye got a little bit lost with the highlight, so I'm gonna go back and add just that little. There we go. It's got a little less too. Okay, I think that is it for the outside. Let me add a little bit more green to that corner. I like it. Okay, so now we're going to go to the lettering on the inside. You're welcome to trace it if you want or use your own handwriting. Just be careful when you turn this over because it's still wet. So actually I'm going to dab up some of the extra water spots so that I don't make a mess everywhere, which is kind of how I usually roll. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the inside now, and I'm gonna use a smaller marker. You can use the marker that you used before, a little smaller one, it's a bit easier. Okay, so I'm just gonna do mine by hand. And I'm just starting with the base letters, and then I'm going to go back and add more depth to them. So in this font, so I made up this font, and one trick to doing it is you want the spots where things cross over to be about the same level. So the R is about the same level as the E, is about the same level as the A, the H crossing over, and that'll give a little bit more uniformity to the font. And of course, if you hate it, then you can use a totally different one. And this last one, I'm just going to make a little bit different and weird so I can add a little leaf. I add a little squiggle on this one and O's. Okay, and then when I'm adding extra depth on these, what I'm doing is I'm coming down and adding a thicker line at the just base part, about probably the bottom half-ish of the letter. This pen's kind of on its way out, so it's a little bit light. And something that I like to do with my letters is kind of make them a little bit triangular at the bottom. I think it makes it look real nice. When I was in middle school, I loved making up fonts, and I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell it from my handwriting now, my regular handwriting, but I think it's so fun to just create different ways to read letters. I used to have like, probably 10 different fonts that I would use and, making little letters to friends or whatever. You know what? I'm actually going to add a little eye, a little dot above the eye, but I'm going to make it a leaf because I think that'd be cute. Yeah, that's cute. So I have kind of a funky way of holding pens. So you see right now I'm like holding it kind of funky like this. I'll also hold pens like this. But oddly enough, I usually paint more with a typical hold, which is kind of weird, but it's fine. That's just how I am. Come to accept that part of my life, then I'm just kind of a weirdo, and we're all kind of weird in our own little ways. I think life would be so boring without at least a little bit of weirdness. If everyone was exactly the same or behaved precisely in the same ways, life would be a little more boring. Of course, sometimes life gets a little too exciting. Sometimes. Or you wish it'd be a little bit more boring. But I'll take the good with the bad, I guess. Okay, almost done with this part. And around the loop. And up to the leaf. I'm actually going to add a little bit thicker line on this leaf. Hopefully you can see. Okay. Excellent. And because this is for Valentine's Day, I'm going to add a little heart. Okay. So now we're going to paint this, and you're basically going to do the same thing as you did with your chameleon. And you're just going to do a light wash or like a light layer in the background. And you don't want to make it as dark as maybe you did for some of the spots on your chameleon, so that the letters will still show up. But then after that, you're going to come back in and add just some little lines and doodads and baubles and things there. Okay, so to come back in. And I'm just coming over with some water to start. Oh, looks like my pen wasn't quite dry. That's all right. Okay, I'm gonna start with some yellow. And let's get some blue in here. Ooh, a little too dark. That's fine. Green. Get some pink. I said my marker wasn't quite dry, so I've got a little bit of bleeding here. That's okay. Life isn't perfect, right? Yeah, looks like I'm missing some orange. Okay, I think that's probably about good, and I'm gonna let this dry. So I'm going to get my hair dryer out again, blow dry it, and then I'm gonna come back in with some of those designs over. So I'm going to mute myself and put my things to the side. Like I said, I always blow them away, so I'm trying to be more aware of that, and we'll be back in a minute. Okie dokie. So now, again, using your smaller brush for details, you're gonna get the darker colors or more saturated pull of the colors that you have. So for example, I'm going to start with some purple. I'm gonna get my darker purple and start putting in some of those fun designs that you had from before. Some squiggles. Grab some of that orange. I like how bright the orange is in this set. The orange and that red. And I'm gonna do let's do blue. I love blue. There's just something so like soul satisfying about blue. I don't know what it is. And I'm going to get some red for the heart. That nice deep red. Normally I have my paint palette on the right side so I don't have to cross over my painting, but just for space, I have it on the left side today. I'll do this little heart. So cute. Okay, and then all we have left on this is to do the green leaves and the white designs. So I'm going to grab my green. Since these are pretty small, I don't know if I'm going to do that much shading on them. We'll see. They turned out a little bit too neonish compared to what's around it, so I am going to actually grab some deeper blue. Oops, that was green. Some blue, this other green, just to tone it down a little bit. Since it was a little bit dark, I'm just what I set down to deepen it a little bit. I just went in with my clean brush and pulled out some of it. And let's see, at the bottom of the red, I do want to add some shading there. So I'm going to grab some purple, maybe a little bit of brown. I know that sounds weird, but red with brown creates kind of a nice, I don't even know the color word for it. It's a nice shade, let's see. There you go. Looking around, and these pop out quite a bit. So to even this out, I need to add some darker spots on this side. Your painting's going to be a little bit different, but that's totally fine. Just watch where your eyes zoom to, and that'll help tell you where to go. Okay. Now for the white gel pen, and I want to make the letters stand out a little bit more, so I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the outline here, where I'm going to add some white spots on the letters. And it doesn't have to be on all of them, just to make it stand out. Add a little highlight there. So in areas where, because my pen wasn't quite dry and it bled a little bit from the marker, in those areas I'm just adding some highlight to pull away from those spots or to cover them up. All right, cool. I think that is freaking adorable. So that, I'm just adding a few more dots. Lines. This is where I tend to get carried away, where it's like, I could be doing dots forever. But we will call it a day. So this is your cute little chameleon card. Your one in a chameleon. Another way to modify this, you can add like a top hat. You can add googly eyes if you want to your card, just to make it fun. And I hope you had fun in this project. Let me know how your cards turn out. You can tag me on Instagram. And if you want to do this as a t-shirt, I've actually just added the blank outline of this as a t-shirt in my Etsy shop. So check out my Etsy shop. It's KindredSoulArt on Etsy, and you can order the t-shirt, and you can tie-dye the t-shirt or use t-shirt markers and make your own designs and add whatever personalization you'd like to it. So that's a super fun activity that you can do with you know, friends or family, or as a gift for someone. So again, check out my Etsy shop. I have lots of other things in there as well that you can check out, some really fun things. And you can find me on Instagram. Again, I would love for you to tag me with your paintings that you did. And I think that's it for today. So thanks for joining me. This is Katie with Kindred Soul Art, and we'll see you next time.